All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside In Tennis Podcast. Mitch Michals here, all part of the Believe Network. This podcast, as you know, is available on all your podcast platforms where you can access it for tremendous tennis coverage as we reached the climax of the U.S. Open. Semifinal round starts today for the women, tomorrow for the men. We'll be crowning champions in New York City. Joining me now, he's the fan child on X and on social media. He's also a premier journalist for TennisNow, covering the U.S. Open from New York, Chris Oddo. Chris, always a blast to talk tennis. We've reached the summit. Welcome back to the podcast.
Good to be back, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's interesting, right? We've gotten to the point where we're down to four on each side. The women's side's got maybe some more unpredictability, but the matches have just really delivered. And I wanted to kind of start there too, the drama as well. We have all these thoughts about storylines and how things are going to play out, but just getting to this path, it's been truly remarkable. We've seen some great stuff, and I know the fans and everybody at home, even myself, we've just all ate it up.
You want to start with mixed doubles? Go back that far?
Even then, these slams are 3 weeks now. I know it makes your job harder, but these are 3-week tournaments now.
No, it's great. It gives us more opportunity. Honestly, the mix really worked out well for the Open. You're kind of wondering, wow, why didn't somebody think of this sooner? Maybe get a couple more doubles, top double players in that draw next year, but like to see more of that. You mentioned good matches. I just can't stop thinking about the 8 match points saved by Barbora Krejcikova to beat Taylor Townsend, who was already a blooming story in her own way at that point. Just chaos in New York that Labor Day weekend. So much energy amongst the fans. A lot of good matches. We didn't get a lot of great matches over the last couple of days, but I think we're setting up okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, how it worked, right, was Arthur Ashe Stadium didn't have the best matches, but sometimes that's just how it is. And I've been amazed by a lot of things. We could start with recapping how we got to this point, the quarterfinal rounds, and it goes back to Novak Djokovic being Taylor Fritz for the 11th time. There's I'm not as familiar with some of the meme games out there, but there's one, it's like the semifinals is 2,000 babies and Novak Djokovic again. And it's the 56-year-old woman at a bachelorette party. And that's kind of what we feel like. Like everybody else is gone. This guy just keeps finding a way to get to the final four of a major, Chris. And before we get into the ins and outs of this match, all 4 major slams at 38 years old, regardless of his past accomplishment, that in and of itself is just a tremendous feat.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's just bringing so much passion to these majors. He's second fiddle really right now to the Sinker's juggernaut, but he adds so much to these tournaments, and he's still very much in there with a shot to do more damage. You just never know with Novak, and that might have been a great shot for Taylor Fritz facing him in the quarterfinals at 0-10 with a chance probably to break through, and a lot of missed opportunities in that match. But again, Djokovic had a lot to do with that. He knows how to navigate these situations, and he's been relatively unscathed given that he came into this tournament absolutely cold, no matches at all, and he was struggling against Lerner Tien in the first round, keeled over, and you're thinking, might be a tough ride for Djokovic to get through this tournament, to get into the business end. But here he is, navigating things as usual, making more history as he goes.
He only won, I believe, 4 more points in that match. That just shows you exactly what Taylor Fritz said after the match, is that these guys, Novak in particular, play the big points so well. They know what buttons to push. They're trained. Their muscle memory is trained, but so is their mental strength of knowing, okay, when it gets tough, this is what I have to do. This is what's going to give me the best chance. And I agree with you. I think you can look in a vacuum. You can look at the whole. You can look rather at the whole rivalry or lack thereof, where it's now 11-0. This match felt a little different, Chris. I do think Taylor had chances. I think this might hurt a lot more because there were opportunities. The serve got away from him. End of the first set, end of the match, obviously. But there were times, even in that last game, where he could have won game point. Tried that lob, it didn't work, and. When you're closer, it probably hurts a little more because there were openings that he just unfortunately couldn't cash in on.
Yeah. I think he really underperformed in some of the big moments in this match that it was almost shocking. You're thinking, he should be coming in with a lot of confidence that here comes his chance. He's former finalist last year at this tournament, done so much damage, has so much crowd support. And just one of those days he couldn't get it done. I think if you give him a few more shots at Novak, if he gets them, he might be able to get over the hump. But ultimately, if you want to go back and look at the American men in a lot of different ways, it was just one of those tournaments where they've been building, they've been growing, and we kind of thought that this might be the one where it boiled over and something really special happened, and it just wasn't meant to be. It might
Yeah.
have all started to fall apart with Ben Shelton's shoulder, and that was
Yeah.
probably the toughest moment for the American men. And then Francis just really couldn't come up with any of the goods against Jan-Lennard Struff. And so all of a sudden we had one devastating day, and it was all then riding on Taylor
Yeah.
and the fact that he had a chance to kind of salvage things for the American men in this tournament, but he didn't, and the streak goes on, and they don't want us to talk about it, but of course we have to mention it's now 22 years, and we'll cross our fingers that at some point we break this ugly streak that Andy Roddick has been the last men's singles champion in 2003.
Yeah, it was that one, and it was also Tommy Paul was pretty exhausted in that match Saturday night against Bublik. I mean, that was actually the one where I thought he did better than I expected, given that he hadn't played and he was dealing with injuries. But yeah, you're right. It seems like they were snake bitten, and it culminated with Fritz Djokovic. There's also, the way that Fritz plays might match up with how Djokovic plays. He can read to some of his patterns a little bit, and he's the best returner ever, so the serve is neutralized. But yeah, just wasn't a great match for Taylor, but for Djokovic, he's moving on yet again. And I had to do some research. I mean, that he's going to win a lot of young fans with that K-pop dance at the end of the match.
That was cool. I mean, he's relatable these days. Like he's fun, and I think it's a little different than it was 4 or 5 years ago when he was just this invincible juggernaut that anybody who wanted anybody else to break through found frustrating. But now he's beloved, and he should be.
Yeah, just wish that headband would have been on the right way for Taylor. That's like the last thing. That was a while. Look good, play good. You know how that works.
He handled it well on social media, I guess. Or whatever. That was classic.
So Djokovic will get another crack at Carlos Alcaraz. He defeated, demolished really Jiri Lehecka, and this is another example, Chris, of Lehecka wasn't like playing bad, and that just shows you the levels that there are to this sport. Where when Alcaraz is in his groove, when he's playing well, when he's mixing in hot shots, but also smart tennis, I think we're starting to see more from him. He hits that peak level that, other than one Italian man that we'll get to later, very few, if any, can match. Definitely not over a sustained level, but it was an Alcaraz masterclass. He's into the semifinals, and he's, squashing all doubts that he could be upset or tripped up early on.
That match against Lehecka was fantastic. And you said Lehecka played well. I thought he played as good as he can. He looked like a top 10 player coming into his own. He's got an amazing game. I love watching him.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos handled everything. And he's handled everything in this tournament so well, perhaps like he never has before at a major. He's just really determined, really focused. Those mental lapses that he's kind of become known for, dropping a set here, another set there, going for something too much here or there, doesn't seem to be around. He's determined, he's focused, serving lights out, 99% hold rate, second serve's working, first serve's working, energy's perfect. Body language is perfect. You watch him and Sinner on alternating nights, and you cannot decide who looks better. They both look so good.
Yeah, I wasn't a math major in college, but 99% seems pretty good. That seems like something to shoot for in any stat in tennis.
It's all right. Well, we know it can fall apart because I think Bublik came into his Sinner match with 59 holds and 59 service games and was broken in 8 out of 11. But this streak looks a little more sturdy.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think with Alcaraz too, there's a case. I mean, maybe this is like a bigger point to consider, but remember when he was coming up, Chris, and there was maybe a worry, maybe from the outside, that you're expending a little too much energy on every single point, whether it was the diving or... Doesn't it feel, and this is just natural to be expected, like he's playing a little more conservative, and I mean that in the sense of he's conserving energy. He understands when to pick his spots to, really empty the tank.
Yes. There are some balls he doesn't chase, and there's a certain calm and a certain poise, like an air about him. That's why I think to me, he looks better than ever. And it's hard to imagine a guy that's won 5 slams in short order, but he looks like he's at another level right now. And it's just so impressive to watch these guys continue to evolve, continue to make themselves even more bulletproof as they go on. They should be tired after the years they both had.
Yeah, I was watching Sinner Musetti, which we can get to now, last night. I thought the same thing. Like, how does Sinner keep having the goods match after match, year after year, now on month 9 of the tennis schedule? He won the match in straight sets, Chris, and we expected that to happen, But he goes out there every day, plays another player, top 10, guy who's known him, and he just plays lights out. And he might have a couple openings in a match, but that'll be squashed pretty quickly. Bubik called
Yeah.
him like an AI tennis player, and it was a hilarious comment. But
It's
I also just think that he's a complete tennis player. There really aren't any areas to attack. It's like, where do you hurt this guy on a tennis court?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, the AI stuff was funny. He was, and later that night, he was talking about how he was returning serve of Bublik and watching his like minute
Yeah.
shoulder maneuvers and being able to get a read on the serve. And you're like, really? So it wasn't just like a crap serving night by Bublik. It was you like doing the matrix on this guy from the return perspective. I mean, I think he can go out there with a really calm sense of belief, knowing that his game just torches everybody, that he's such a demon to deal with. He just has to go out there and do what he does. And he's probably up by a break and he's probably cruising. It must be really comforting that, like, I mean, what he unleashes on his opponents in terms of pace and taking time away from them is just astronomical. So, I mean, he's got that comfort and he's got that confidence. He keeps growing. I mean, these two guys, I mean, what a pleasant surprise over the last 2 years to watch them grow like this.
I was thinking, like, how do you practice for that? Like, how do you how do you prepare for what you're going to face? There's no possible way unless you develop a machine or something.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to ask him. Can we go hit? You know, can you? Can you?
Yeah. But there's a professional approach to Sinner as well, because and look, honestly, like a professional arrogance that he deserves to have, because he does not lose matches he should. Like it happens every once in a while, once in a blue moon. We know Bublik beat him on grass, and that was like the first time someone outside the top 20 beat him in a long time.
Yep.
But there is a real admirable, really professionalism to Sinner's approach to tennis, because he handles his business and he completes the assignment, which is beating the players he should.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are pulling away. You know, like if it wasn't for their rivalry, you just there's no telling how many slams one of these guys could pull off. Because look at what Jannik has done on the natural surfaces this year. That's really the thing we should probably we will be talking about at the end of the year. That he came up at RG and really held the championship points there on clay, which is a little surprising, and that he won Wimbledon. I mean, fantastic. And then what he's doing on hard courts, I mean, it's just out of this world. And what is the hard court Grand Slam winning streak now? 26. I
Yeah.
think he's 70-4 on hard courts
Uh,
since the start of 24, with 3 of the losses to Carlitos. So he's still got the Carlitos problem here and there, and that's probably what's going to intrigue us in a couple of days if these two guys reach the final. But yeah, I mean. Just the embarrassment of riches for tennis fans. We've got this new thing that is just out of this world for people to get behind and get into. So it's really cool to have that waiting. If there's any type of a letdown at a tournament, you're always kind of like, well, we could have a Sinner Outguards final, so the whole thing could be worth it anyway.
yeah, that's what's happening. That's people look ahead, but you never want to look too far ahead of the draw. But we've kind of known what's going to
No.
happen for quite some time.
Oh,
In a lot of ways. But that said, it was also cool to see some surprises. One of them, the big one being Felix Auger Aliassime making the semifinals, which was good.
yeah.
Love to see that. Love it. And honestly, it was a land of opportunity for him. I know De Minaur was, maybe not the hardest quarterfinal matchup to draw, but for Felix, he had to go through Zverev. He had to find his way to navigate through some tougher opponents, and Rublev another one. So Felix was no slouch in getting here. I think we forget a lot of times he's only 25 years old. He has some serious weapons, and he grinded. That was a long, brutal marathon type match over 4 hours for 4 sets. But it's Felix who went the distance and had his hand raised.
Yep. Big mental effort from him to get through all of the last 3 matches, multiple top 10 wins at a major for the first time for Felix. You leave these guys for dead when they slump for a year or two, but they're not gone. I mean, Felix's talent didn't go anywhere. Felix, the person and the player, hasn't gone anywhere. And then, so, 4 years after his first major semi, he's back, and he shows you why he's back, because on the hard courts with the weapons he has, with the serve +1, I mean, he's a guy that can take the racket out of your hand and just make it look easy. And that's what he's been able to do. So, and mentally he's there. I think, and he's in a good place, and that's why you look at, can he potentially do some things against Sinner? Well, Denis Shapovalov did okay with what he had. Was able to take a set, so maybe Felix can push him a little more than a lot of us expect.
Yeah.
Also 2-1 against him.
Yeah, that's true.
All old news, of course, but
yeah. That was Musetti, right? Like Musetti said that against Sinner. Like he hadn't played him in 2 years, and I appreciated him saying like, "Oh, this is a learning situation. Like I know he's better than me, no duh. Like I have to see what the levels are and where I
Yeah,
need to improve." So
yeah.
that was
Let me
funny.
check it out. Yeah, I know. That's a good way to look at it, though.
But for Felix, I do think that, part of it is I know you're around these tennis players a lot more than I am, but you don't realize kind of the size he has. Like I remember seeing him in person, like, oh, this is a big, not just tall, but like a muscular, thick guy. And I think that gives him some opportunities. You have to be obviously in cardio shape to win a 4 hour match at an elite level, but his size and power, I do think, is underrated.
Yeah, he can impose himself on anybody. That most definitely, and that's why he's so tough on indoor, faster surfaces. So, I mean, I hope he's in a good space. I don't think he should. If he comes out there
Yeah.
loose and confident, I mean, I think he can do some damage and make
Yeah.
this semifinal a good one. I'd love to see it.
And in a good space, maybe, because I think he's getting married in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not exactly sure when the wedding is, but
yeah.
it's one of those things that definitely puts a little wind in your sails. So,
Yeah.
you can feel it.
Yeah, nice honeymoon with the semifinal payday too, so that'll be
Yeah,
good.
for
Um,
sure.
and, and again, shout out to the Demon, the Alex De Minaur, a run to the quarterfinals, and really
Yeah.
a lot like Musetti in a way, and some of these other players, we'll get to on the women's side too. Like, didn't have the most momentum, was dealing with injuries. So I think all things considered, like after what happened at Wimbledon, not being able to take the court in the quarterfinal match, a good run to the quarters and something to build on for a guy who just continues to put the work in.
One of my favorite players and always gives 110%. I hate to see 0-6 in major quarterfinals next to his name. I will be so happy to see the time that he does break through. This was a good opportunity both for Alex and Felix. It was Felix that took it, but yeah, no shame in the way Alex De Minaur is playing, what he brings to the game, and I think he's going to have other chances in major quarterfinals.
I still look back to that City Open match against Fokina, and so much is discussed about the collapse on the other side, but to stay in it and to win that match was just insane effort by Alex.
Yeah, that was nice. Always nice to save some championship points, win yourself a title. It seems like so long ago, the City Open.
I know, I know, not that long, a little over a month, and here we are. All right, so we got Chris Oddo, the fan child, here on the Inside In Tennis podcast, talking U.S. Open as we mosey along and switch to the women's side. Boy, it's fascinating how many different storylines emerge in the women's game this time of year. And we have a semifinal that featured two women, different paths to get here, different trajectories. I want to start with the American surprise story. Amanda Anisimova beats Iga Swiatek to get to the U.S. Open semis for the first time. Chris, it's not that this player who is rising up the rankings into the top 10 firmly now in Amanda Anisimova, it's not that she got here. It's not even that she got here this year. But beating Iga after what happened at Wimbledon, after getting double bageled, to avenge that loss in straight sets, poetry, symbolism, whatever you want to call it, but the mental strength to pick yourself back off the mat, knowing who you're going to face the next match in a big time situation and win. Full respect, full marks to Amanda Anisimova. That was a courageous performance yesterday.
Yeah, even she knew. She called it one of the best win of her career. I mean, this is a woman who just reached the Wimbledon final. You would think she would maybe reference that semifinal win over Sabalenka. It was incredible what she had to go through, how she had to process it. I think she started winning the minute she took the mic at Wimbledon after that final, and was just so inspiring and so strong. She put herself out there. It was a raw moment. She thanked her family. She gave people a perspective of her journey and everything that she's been through since 2019. I guess you can start there. She reaches the RG semis, is a breakout player, and then a few months later loses her father to a heart attack and has to try and deal with life on the tour as a rising talent, as a 17-year-old. I mean, and that eventually kind of led her to the mental health issues where she took some time off. I mean, it's an incredible journey she's been on. I mean, that's the long term story of it. But then in the short term, how she's able to recover from what had to be just devastating double bagel loss, the first ever in a Wimbledon final, to do what she did, to play the way she did yesterday against Iga was just inspiring. The stuff of legend.
I just couldn't believe how she approached that match, right? Like there was a couple moments early where you got signs where it's like, okay, if she's going to lose, she's going to lose going down on her shield. And I just was so enamored by that. Like she was going for it. There was
Well
no
said, yeah.
hesitation.
My
if she's
God.
going to make errors, she's going to go for her shots, and that's the part that changed. And look, there's nothing that compares to the Wimbledon final, especially if you've never been there. The emotions and what she had to deal with, and I think mentally, you can say it can be overwhelming, and it was. It capsized for her
Oh
there.
yeah.
So she was able to kind of go off a negative experience, which is a lesson in life, right? How do we respond from setback? And she just laid the blueprint down. How she was attacking Iga's second serve, I know it wasn't the best day
Oh,
at the office for Iga, but I still remain firm in this statement that one of the best, maybe even up in the discussion for the best clean ball strikers in tennis is
yes.
Amanda Anisimova.
Yes, flat backhand, ridiculous. The amount of times that Iga was flat-footed and just like swiping at balls which she had no time and no business to get to, it was happening often. I mean, she was just bullying the ball,
Yeah,
and and Iga's probably the best mover, or at least top
yeah,
three mover in the women's game,
yeah,
and she was just at a loss of what to do. I mean, I don't think she
yeah,
played poorly.
yeah,
The serving was only 50% on the first serves, really hurt her because she was then forced to hit second serves and she was only able to win 10 of 30 second serve points.
yeah,
And there's your match. But it has more to do with Amanda
yeah.
Anisimova, the gunslinger, than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, Iga can be a bully out there too. So she bullied the bully, I think, is
Yeah.
part of it. But no, and there was the luck on the wet court at the end. But fortune
Oh,
favors the brave, as they say. So, and a terrible way to lose if you're Iga, but having that belief and going for your shots, it's just remarkable. Now we looked at this match as like, oh, this is the toughest opponent maybe for Anisimova. She can. I mean, this is why this U.S. Open's great now. She can beat everybody left in this tournament.
and she has beat Osaka, and that's who she's facing. And that's crazy that these two are meeting up because honestly, it was hard to expect much from Osaka 3 months ago, given the 15 months she had had in her post maternity leave comeback. She just wasn't finding it. I don't know why or why it took her so long because some other players can get back on tour and kind of hit their stride. She couldn't find her confidence, and I think that's really the base of her game. And now she has it,
It's
and she's
yeah.
gone through her or well documented mental health issues. So you've got two players who are really inspirational in a very similar way meeting, and they also play a little bit similarly the way they
Yeah.
just crush the ball. This is going to be a high octane matchup.
You had Naomi Osaka beat Karolina Muchova straight sets, two competitive sets to get back to the U.S. Open semifinal. She's back in the top 15. It seems like old times yet again, like the
Yeah.
Chevy Chase Goldie Hawn movie. But we're back in the mix now, and we're back with Osaka here. It was a great performance, poetic in a lot of ways too, right? Last year she loses to Mukova and
Yeah.
is really, gutted by the loss. Two things that I want to say before we get into the match, Chris, is that she wasn't that far off. Like we saw her lose a lot of tight matchups in the
Yeah.
last couple of years, so where you felt like, okay, she's close, but yeah, the mental hurdle, overcoming setbacks, overcoming what happened in Canada, that's the impressive
Yep.
part to me is that she stayed the course, whether it's the new course with Trotsky, whether it's, having the perspective of, having a child now, or just being that heart of a champion type of person and having that personality for Naomi to keep pushing through and get to the semis again is just remarkable.
Yeah, maybe all three of those things you mentioned very well said. That the loss to Mboko in Montreal, where she just kind of like lost it mentally after having a lead in that match. And I don't know, hiring Wiktorowski, her third coach in her comeback, seems to be perfect for her right now. I don't know what it is about him, but it just seems to be a great energy between the two, and that's helping as well.
He did a great job with Iga. I keep saying it, and
Oh
he's
yeah,
doing a
of
great
course.
job with Naomi. And that match in particular, I know Carolina was tired, and I think she fought admirably, right? Having played all the tennis she did, wasn't moving as
Yeah.
well, but very tricky and someone who I just love watch playing tennis. But it wasn't a straightforward, walk in the park, walk in Central Park for Naomi. She had to figure it out. And what do the great players do? It goes back to in my era, it's like Pete Sampras. They win at the end of the sets. They close out the games they have to. Those five,
Yeah.
4 games, it's like Naomi can just settle and lock in and just hyper focus, I think is the way I would put it.
Yeah. And that's what she was known for in her heyday, winning those four majors. She would deliver the best tennis in those big tense moments, and it would frequently just put her over the edge in those matches. And without that superpower, she wouldn't be a four-time major champion. And
No.
without it last night, she probably would have had a lot more difficulty getting through that match. So when Naomi's seeing it and believing it the way she is right now, you kind of sit there and go, oh wow, this woman has won every major she's played, that she's gotten this far. It's pretty ridiculous records. Let's see if that'll hold up. But if it does, I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about for like a couple of weeks to come, because that's pretty remarkable that she's 13-0 quarterfinals and beyond at the majors now.
Yeah, when she's won 4 matches at a major, she wins the major.
That's
so it's
unreal.
like that's what we're looking at right now. She's got 4 of them. And honestly, if we're going to take the other side of it out, maybe the biggest star in women's tennis. Like I respect to all the women, but like she is a star. She's a superstar globally.
Yeah, and she needed this win to kind of help the other things she's doing, because it becomes like, okay, why is she a star if she's not putting up some results? So I think in a way this couldn't have come at a better time for her. It needed to happen at some point. So now this is bringing her right back in the spotlight, and then and now a thing like Labubu, which
5 of them.
I'm sorry I even mentioned it, but now those things make sense, and they're really, you can understand the whole package. The mega star that she is.
This has been an informative U.S. Open for me. Got the K-pop Demon Hunters thing, the Labubu. I'm learning so much that I had literally no idea of before. So I'm taking it like that. The other side, 2 different paths. One didn't have to play. We got the semifinal rematch of last year's final. First with Jessica Pegula. She's back. She beats Barbora Krejcikova rather handily. Similar to her Czech counterpart, Muchova. Krejcikova seemed a little gassed at this point in the match. Didn't really have the jump. But on the other side, Jessica Pegula, a player that didn't come in with a lot of momentum, if any, had been dealing with some tough losses and the pressure of following up a final and defending those points, but looking as comfortable as ever and getting back to the semis.
Yeah, came in with 0 momentum. Wimbledon first round loss was kind of like, getting thrown about in the waves this summer, trying to figure things out. She said she was changing strings, really overthinking things for a while, and then showed up here. Got a nice gift from the draw gods, I think. Didn't really she faced players who she felt comfortable matching up with. Yeah. And then she got on Ash. And that's a little bit of a secret weapon for Jess and for players like her that embrace that situation. That's a real cauldron for players who are stepping out there for the first time, maybe a little green. But a player like Pegula, who's a runner-up last year and has had some big wins out there now, is feeling like this is an advantage for me. And, the biggest challenge she faced was Krejcikova, and she took down that one rather easily, losing just 6 games. She's dropped fewer games than any player left in the draw. And now she gets a shot at a rematch of last year's final, and I think she's very happy about that. I think she didn't really love the way she played in last year's final, so she'd like to kind of make amends.
I also feel like when you watch her play, right, the best version of Jessie Pegula for me when I'm watching her is just pinning her opponents back, like the depth she gets on her shot. And I know there was that statistic that came out that she hits the ball harder than almost anyone, like you don't see it the way. And I just think it's her playing her. It's her being the driver, not the passenger. It's taking time away, not letting the opponent do what they want to do.
Yeah, she's sneaky with that, right? She takes a lot of time away. She cuts the corners off. She hugs the baseline, and she gets a flat ball that is just super. Has a really tough pace, and she's tough to deal with. I mean, you don't notice it really. Like, it's not a jaw-dropping stroke production or anything, but the results are there. And you're right. That's the way she has to play. And Sabalenka matchup's a tough one, gotta say. But
It is tough for anyone. I do want to mention too, like, her opening up about, the situation with her mom was, really powerful to hear that stuff and, what these tennis players are dealing with, especially on the grind of an 11-month season. So we wish her and her family the best there. Also knowing her coach, Mark Knowles, decently well. And I'm a big fan of his, obviously, as a broadcaster, as a coach, but also just his pragmatic approach, like knowing him as the leader on her team, that they're just moving forward. Like, what's done is done. We even saw it in the U.S. Open final last year. Like, we don't have time for this. Like, we got stuff to do right now. So I think there's that singular focus. Sometimes with players, maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. She's got a clear voice behind her. She knows the assignment, and she's not intimidated by, let alone Ash, as you said, secret weapon for players, but the weight of the moment she's built to handle.
Yeah, she's impressive, like from a late bloom. She really hadn't done much in her career by the age of 25, 26 to where she is now. I mean, I just have to bow to it. She's put together an incredible career. And I got to say, she's probably my favorite person to talk to in the press room. She just always has time for everything, always has deep, thoughtful answers. So thank you, Jess Pegula. We appreciate that when we're trying to write articles.
We do. And also, like, I mean, she won me over as a fan when she was just drinking the Heineken after a
Oh,
couple years ago. So that's how you
yeah.
win me over.
She's,
But no, the Sabalenka match will be tough, and Sabalenka getting there, not having to play, brutal for Marketa Vondrousova. Like that's just gutting, especially how well she had played
yeah.
before against Rybakina, and just to hurt her knee on the practice court. We don't know if it was lingering before, but awful for her. And then you wonder too how it's going to affect Sabalenka. Obviously, loving to advance, but without having to play, it'll now be 4 days, 5 days since she played a match.
Yeah, she's going to try to simulate it as best as you can, but you can't. You get out of that rhythm of having those matches day after day. So it might take her a little time. Might be an opportunity for Pegula early. But Sabalenka on the hard court, I mean, it's basically everything but. I mean, she's doing it all except for winning the slams this season. I
That's
think she's 37-2 in the hard court majors. If you go back in I mean, she's doing everything right. It's just a matter of her tripping up at that last hurdle, and I feel like there's going to be some pressure on her to get a slam out of this season, and that's kind of unfortunate because you don't want to feel that pressure. But let's see how she deals with it.
She's handled pressure very well recently, but we know that there's been, some times in her career where it hasn't happened, and you got to wonder as well because the game, there's really no poking holes in it. It's the most consistent. She's got number one till the end of the U.S. Open. She's
Yep.
been very, very efficient every surface, but hasn't had the major. So on one hand, you built these standards. It's that Roger Federer quote from years ago: "I created a monster." Like when you're expected to win and you don't, that's when
Yeah.
it feels like a letdown.
Yeah.
And it's an American, and that's what's plagued her all year long, right? Three major losses, all to Americans. So
Yeah.
I don't know if the
Yep.
demons might be, in her mind going into this one.
It's tough to finish the deal at a slam, no matter how good you are. The one thing that's really working well for her is the fact that she's not really getting broken. I mean, she's been broken twice in the tournament. Every other woman's been broken at least 9 times. So riding that serve is keeping her comfortable probably and letting her really play the type of tennis she wants to play without having to, feel those
Yeah.
nerves, get ahead in
Mhm.
sets and matches and be
Yeah.
comfortable. Maybe she can do that and ride it out to the title. It's
Yeah.
uh, it's going to be fascinating to see.
And the tiebreak stat, right? Like she
Oh,
just doesn't
18
lose.
straight? Yeah, unbelievable. She has only had two, I think, here in New York, but
Mhm.
still, I mean, it reminds us of what TFO did two years ago here, where he's winning all those breakers, even
I,
against Carlitos.
yeah, I got to feel like that's kind of working its way through the locker room. I know players don't, follow as much stats and don't even, follow the draw, but it's that stuff like works its way. So then if you catch yourself in a tiebreak with Sabalenka, it's like, oh gosh, like how am I going to do this?
Yeah, you're like, I better win this first point.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap up here, Chris Otto, on the Inside in Tennis podcast, talking U.S. Open by previewing the semifinal matchups. We got two women's matches tonight, two on Friday for the men, and then the finals and the trophies will be handed out. So the aforementioned matchups on the women's side: Pegula Sabalenka, a rematch of last year's final. It was 7-5, 7-5. Again, Pegula said she could have played better. Sabalenka handled the moment, ran through Navarro in the semis to get to Pegula, but we're at this point, and the question is like, what can Jessie do, Chris, to not only make it competitive but win the match? How does she game plan, in your opinion, and what's her best chance to pull off the upset?
Well, like you said, she's got to play her tennis and kind of get out early, and try to get in front potentially. Maybe
Mhm.
like Sabalenka having those days off could help her. I mean, she's played her now 9 times. She knows how tough it is. She's just got to execute at a really high level
Yeah.
and hope that it becomes one of those nervy encounters where it's really tense. Handle the big moments better. It's definitely not. It's definitely within her reach and a
Mhm.
possibility.
Yeah, she's been playing heavy sets. Like even Miami this year, it was, it's taking a lot from Sabalenka to beat her. And if she plays her best and she beats her, you shake her hand, and that's how it goes. But I think there's an opening. I think if you get the crowd involved, I think that's part of it too. They're going to
Yep.
want an American to do well. It's going to be a great night of tennis because there's two Americans playing on the
Yeah. That's
women's
great.
side. So I think there's a real chance there. But yeah, it starts with coming out and not getting blitzed in that first set because Sabalenka can play downhill with the best of them.
Yep.
So that's going to be the big one there. We got that women's matchup, and we got Anisimova Osaka. And my first reaction is just how hard are the tennis balls going to be hitting this one?
Oh yeah, it's going to be. It's just going to be fun to watch these two women show off their ability. It's just absolutely demolish a tennis ball. I think, maybe the intangibles will be on Amanda's side. I think the crowd's really going to be behind her. I mean, Naomi certainly has her legions of fans, but this could be, like a New York moment. And I think the way that Anisimova played that last match is hard for me, it's a little bit difficult not to see her winning and maybe even to win this title. I feel like she has it in her. So I'm kind of leaning in Anisimova's direction, but this should be a great match. Plus, she's 2-0 against Naomi.
It
Which
is
says a little bit
interesting.
about her.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Like the Naomi storyline, and it's like a dream return to glory. But with that win yesterday, the odds makers have it basically as a pick 'em. So there's a lot of respect for what Amanda's done, not just this tournament, but all year, starting back in the Middle East with that title in February. I think the key for her is protect her serve because Naomi's been serving great, and
Yeah.
if you can't be chunking away. I mean, it's women's tennis, especially like when you have these elite servers. If you fall behind early, it's what happened with Coco, right? Naomi gets out to a lead each set and just races to the finish line.
Yeah, good point. Those are the big advantages, I would say, for Osaka are the serve. And I think the movement is a little bit better. She's really come up in that element of her game. So, I mean, there's some stuff she definitely has to work with. I think this could, I don't want to get ahead of myself,
Yeah.
but it feels like it could be a classic match.
Yeah, I wonder too, and I guess we can end the discussion here with this. Like, if it goes three, do you favor a player? Like, is there a player that maybe is more built if this turns into a long, grueling late third set match?
It's it's gonna be tough. Naomi, if she kind of exhibits all the patterns that she has in her heyday, if that magic is really back,
Yeah,
I would say I'd
yeah,
favor her. But
yeah,
you just don't know in a situation. It'll be like a bit of a cauldron there if it goes
yeah.
through and it's a tight match.
It's true. If you got muscle memory of being a Grand Slam champion and having done it in three sets, I think a couple of those finals were three setters. So, she
Yep,
knows how
just
to win.
just going for it in those
Yeah.
big moments. First strike tennis.
Well, do we think on the men's side, Felix can be a game opponent here? I know it's like it's the impossible task, right? It's like the Washington. Sometimes you feel like it's like when the track star Edwin Moses was running races, like you just can't beat him. But what can
Yeah.
Felix do? How can he find a way to make this competitive? And do we think there's some resistance here?
He needs to do better than he did in Cincinnati. That's for sure. He got 2 games against Felix in 2 sets. He just needs to forget who's on the other side of the net and execute his patterns. Serve +1, hold serve, get in the match, and it's going to be tough. I think he can get a set out of it. It's hard to imagine any more than that, but
Yeah.
I think he's playing well enough to where he can turn this into something interesting.
That's a great point, and I actually think you referenced it earlier. The fellow Canadian Shapovalov made it interesting. Shapovalov was just going big on the
But
serve, and I think that's what you have to do. And if you double fault a little bit, you have to take the good with the bad because he'll punish a weak serve, especially a second serve, especially if he's reading shoulder blade movement and what you're doing. So I think
yeah,
as many free points as he can get, serves and serve +1s, is going to be a key for him to stand a chance.
he's got to, and maybe go for broke a little bit against Jannik's second serve when you have a chance. It's not easier said than done, but you have to go for broke in a match like this. You have to go big. It's just no other way to get it done against this guy.
Boy, how do you beat him? That's the question, right? Unless you're an Alcaraz level talent, like it's
Yep.
so tough. And best of five, this format favors these guys that can just reset and find a
Yeah.
way. So if Felix wins, it would be the story of all stories. I
Oh,
just I
it
don't know
would be.
if, I don't know if any of us are calling that, but you got Alcaraz Djokovic, which will actually be the earlier match, and they haven't met since the Australian Open. Djokovic won that match. He's got the lead, in head to head, or he's got the lead in recent head to head, I should say, winning the Olympics as well. I still maintain that this might be a better chance for Djokovic than the Sinner side because Djokovic has in the past, Chris, worked his way in when there's been moments to seize in the matchup, when there's been letdowns. But Alcaraz seems like he's playing great level at one of his best levels, maybe better than ever, and he's a sizable
Yep.
favorite. And I wonder what Djokovic's game plan is to win this match, best of five, against the young hot kid on the block.
He knows he's going to have to work for it, but he's going to have to try and keep things real crisp and serve to the best of his abilities. And I think he can do that. I think he's going to benefit from the 2 days off. I mean, his talk in press was kind of like, I hope I can hang with him. let's see how my body holds up.
Sandbagging. He's a noted sandbagger. I
He's
appreciate
so
that.
noted with that, and I think it's good because it lowers expectations, maybe even for him. But I think he's going to be ready, and I think he's going to play well. And he's beaten this guy twice in a row. He can definitely do it. It's going to be a fascinating encounter. Novak needs to, he doesn't want to get into a war of attrition at all. I don't think he's going to win that. So he just needs to serve at his top level. And, he's become one of, if not the best spot servers in men's tennis. He's just got to do it on this fast court and make things work. And then also try and throw Carlitos out of his rhythm, because Carlitos is basically like 2 winners to every 1 unforced error in this tournament. He's been really locked in and tight. If he can somehow throw him off his game, drop shot here, floater there, etc., maybe he gets him off kilter, and then maybe he has a chance to do this.
Yeah, I was looking at it from a perspective too of, I think he enjoys being, the underdog. It doesn't happen much. This is probably the biggest underdog he's been in a long time, and I feel like he might relish the chance to not be the favorite and have the lower expectations. I feel like with these matchups too, I've got my guard up of what's going to be up his sleeve. Like he's probably got a tactic or something, like he's keeping close to the vest. How can I, it's like a football defense. How can I disguise something? How can I change things up? Ultimately, though, that might not matter. Best of 5. We mentioned that Alcaraz is a better player, and maybe he can learn on experience of the past. I know famously he said he didn't rewatch the Roland Garros final. I like to think that maybe they're studying up on Djokovic a little more now, like, okay, this is what he's trying to do. It's just so hard to, where I keep coming back to, Chris, is it's just so hard to hit through this guy. Even for Novak Djokovic, it's like this guy's everywhere. His court coverage is great, and that weighs on you in the course of a tennis match, even if you are the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Carlitos, to me, up at this point, is playing as good as he's ever played. That's why I think, he's probably going to get through this match successfully if he continues on trend. I think, like I said, the hope for Novak is to just throw him out of whack a little bit. And we know it's possible. Hasn't happened in this tournament yet, but and I think you're so spot on that Djokovic is going to be looking for little things he can exploit that he's maybe picked up, where Carlitos hits his forehand a little funny when put in this position. He's good enough to execute those kind of game plans. For Carlitos, he just has to let it fly, not overthink it, and he can just get out there and paint a picture that is beautiful. And if he gets into that mode, he's so dangerous.
He is so dangerous. He's just got to pounce when the opportunity comes in Novak's position. If he were to make this run and keep it going, we talk about just remarkable achievements, and this is at the top of the list. But even if he doesn't, even if he loses convincingly in this matchup, it's good to see Novak still in the mix. I don't know how much longer he's going to play, Chris, but he's beating everybody else. So there's no reason for him to go away. It's not like he has to go away. He's still very much in the mix. He's the 3rd best big match player in the world, regardless of the numbers. And I hope we see him a lot longer.
He's incredible. And, you keep saying if one of Sinner or Alcaraz falls by the wayside, Djokovic's opportunity is going to be huge. He's going to win that 25th major. And they just don't fall by the wayside. So it's an uphill battle, but let's see this legend of our sport go for it again on Friday.
Sinner and Alcaraz going for their 8th straight major title collectively.
Oh.
If Sinner wins, it's 5-5. Alcaraz could take that 6-4 lead in slams if he wins. So don't think they're going to be slowing down soon. So the tally is not final. The tally is very much fluid.
Far from being final.
Chris Oddo, this was a blast. Always is. Appreciate you taking time to come on the Inside In Tennis podcast. Keep up the great work at TennisNow, where we can follow all your coverage and really, really enjoy the tennis, the U.S. Open finishing up.
Appreciate it. Yeah, usopen.org as well. I'm grinding for them. Nice. And Mitch, it's always a pleasure. This is a great chat. I appreciate it very much.
Always appreciated myself. That was Chris Oddo. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. We're on all your podcast platforms, so just go to Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music. It's all part of the Believe Network, where you can find this podcast and other outstanding shows. And when you find the podcast on your platform of choice, just subscribe to it. Search Inside In Tennis podcast. Subscribe, leave a nice rating and a review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals for the full video episodes as well. For Chris Oddo, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. I'll be talking to you next week to recap the U.S. Open. Thank you for listening or watching, and enjoy the tennis.